Hello, BookTube. Well, as you can see, my guest is still here. You're leaving. This is David Murphy's Laugh Day.
Right after this.
It's been a wonderful time. Lots and lots of fun. Just the four of us. There's been me, David, Frida, and the Duke.
And the Duke. Lots of John Wayne clips.
Lots of John Wayne. A refreshing amount of John Wayne, I might say, to any of you who have visited and have maybe had a lower tolerance than David. Your tolerance seems to be about the same as mine.
Infinite, yeah.
Infinite. But we had to wrap up. I mean, he's been doing a lot. He's been going out and about seeing Boston, but we had to wrap up with another trip to the Brattle. For those of you who
and
are
another
aware,
video. I couldn't stop thinking about the 9-minute video we put up the other day.
9-minute
It just
video.
felt awful.
Neither one of us ever does that.
On our own.
On our own, no.
Together.
We don't ever do
Yeah,
it. It's something with a soul of brevity. And every day, the thought has been, surely there's a video we can make today. And there ends up being lots of other stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I have said over and over again on this channel, if you are presented with a choice between real life and making videos, it's not a hard choice at all. It shouldn't be. But that means that the loser has been you, which I guess confirms what I've said all along, that you're all losers. But we went back to the Brattle. We had to go one more time to the Brattle bookshop. And we got a bunch of books. And that's what this video is. Yes. Maybe we can stretch it out to 9 minutes. I hope. If it's not 9 minutes, I won't get monetized. You've got many more.
Yeah, I do have a lot more. So
we'll go right ahead.
Okay. And I don't know what order these in. Some of them I don't know anything about. So this one I know something about. It's John Kenneth Galbraith. Of course, a white cover there. This is Economics in Perspective. Galbraith is one of those authors. Everything he writes is wrong, but it's still very readable. I love reading him, so it's always frustrating because I enjoy reading him, but I'm just shaking my head the whole time.
Have you read this book before?
Yeah. Long time ago, though. I think I was a freshman in college or something. And it's a kind of a history of economic thought, but it's the influence of economists on public policy is sort of what he's doing there. So it's history of economic thought in the context of policy, sort of. So that's my first one. Do I keep going?
Sure.
Okay. And then this one is The Romans and Their World, a short introduction. I shouldn't say this sitting next to you, but I know shamefully small about ancient Greece and Rome, and had been meaning to bone up on it. And so this was out on the lot, and I grabbed it.
The stickers mean that these are all from the lot. The ones that don't are not. They're from in the shop. You've got a lot from inside in the shop as well.
I got a few. Yeah, I couldn't say no to.
There's a whole wall of World War II history. It's practically the David Murphy
I had to pull myself away from it. I went down it. I went back down it again. And I was going down it again, and I was just wondering what I missed. And I was like, you have to go look at other things.
They have so many World War II books in that section that they actually have a separate subsection just for the Holocaust.
Yes.
And directly behind you, when you're looking at the World War II, directly behind you, there's a whole bookcase of Winston Churchill.
Yeah. They had a couple on the Holocaust shelf I was going to get, but...
In case any of you are worried about it, he's not carrying these things back. He will be mailing them back.
I'm going to bring a few back.
He's got hundreds of pounds of books.
Yeah,
so
it's obscene. Yeah, I don't buy souvenirs when I go traveling. I just get books. Yeah.
There's such big ones, too.
Yeah, not on purpose. And then this is The European Discovery of America by Samuel Eliot Morison, which I've never read. Although I've seen it around, and I never grabbed it because... I never wanted to pay for it, but when it's out there on the cart for cheap, you can do that.
Somewhere out there in the wilds of Vermont, Mark Richardson is grumbling at the screen right now saying, mention the subtitle, because there's 2 volumes.
Oh, the Southern Voyages, 1492, 1616. See, I don't even know. Yeah.
You didn't find the other ones, but you found this one. I'll look for the other one. I'll make sure to keep an eye out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've only read his World War II stuff, so this will be good.
All right, I got a ton of mass market... I got far fewer books than David did. I got a ton of mass market paperbacks, like this, for instance. The UK mass market Penguin paperback of Count Belisarius by Robert Graves. The American version of this has Robert Graves' face on the cover. I don't know what it is with these mid-century white-haired, classic bent-type writers. Robert Fitzgerald did the same thing with his translation of the Aeneid. He put his face on the cover. But this one doesn't have that. I don't really want Robert Graves' face on the cover of a book about this. But this is a novel, but it's in very much I, Claudius vein. So it's heavily, heavily researched. You feel like you're reading a biography. In fact, a little game you can play at your used bookstore is that this will often be in the biography section. But it's about the last great general that Rome fielded. And I love it. I love it as a book. Recently I hauled from the Brattle a trade paperback of Count Belisarius, but it's just not in good enough shape. I complained about it at the time. This paperback will actually take more readings than that. Go ahead.
Yeah, we got enough. Then this one is Enemy at the Gates, The Battle for Stalingrad by William Craig. This is another classic volume. You see this creep up in footnotes all the time, though this is one I haven't read, so I was glad to see it.
Have you seen the movie?
I could say more. Yes, I have, of course.
The movie has some memorable moments.
Yeah.
Including what may be the least romantic sex scene in any movie ever filmed. Because there's nowhere for them to go. They just have to do it right there. But let's do another one. Oh, this will make up for
this will
make
up. Yeah. And this was on purpose. Yeah, this is Archer Mayer, Occam's Razor. And there was tons and tons of mysteries and thrillers out there on the carts. And I just kept grabbing them, reading through, and whichever one sounded interesting. And I only settled on 2, I think it is. This is one of them.
It's so bizarre to see you buying fiction.
Yeah, I felt weird to grab, but
but you might like.
I was trying to find fiction I could grab.
You picked a good author. He's good. So.
Yeah, I don't know anything. That's the hard thing too when you see something like that. Where obviously I don't read a lot of fiction, but I read very little mystery, and you see all of it there, and you just don't even know what you're looking at. Yeah. You just have to page through it a little bit, read the first page or two, see if you like it.
There was actually a customer like that at the shop when we were there. A kid who wanted to know if the shop had any Chester Himes.
I overheard that.
Zach was behind the register. I was there. I was right there, and I heard it. My eyes went big and wide. I'm sure that Zach could tell that I wanted to just go into bookseller mode and let's go find it. He's good enough so that he could be in fiction, but he'll probably be in mystery, and there are some titles you should look for as opposed to others. I came that close to saying, when we found a couple of volumes, and he was saying, well, should I get both of these? I came that close to saying, why don't I pay for it?
Oh, yeah.
Totally
but you got him to get both, right? Is what it sounded like? Yeah.
But when I often wonder, I know it's condescending, but I wonder with a young person like that if maybe they're counting their pennies. There have been many, many years where I was at the Brattle and I was literally counting my pennies, where I could get one book but not 2, even at their prices. I came that close, but then I thought, that might be taken wrong, you know?
Mm-hmm.
In the 21st century where everybody's worried about everybody else, an offer, why don't you let me pay for those just so that it's risk-free, he would probably have heard, you like gladiator movies, Timmy?
First time in a cockpit?
First time in a cockpit. So anyway, I'm just going to keep going through my mass markets. I found Alfred Duggan, one of the greatest historical fiction novelists that there is, and yet he's not known anymore, especially in America, where he barely ever made a footprint at all. And he's terrific. His historical fiction is amazingly good. He is... the facile book reviewer thing would be to say that he is the male Mary Renault. This is not my favorite of his, but I'll gladly take it.
This one is
tomes.
This is called Here at the New Yorker by Brendan Gill. I think this came out in '75, I want to say, and it's more or less just a history of the magazine up to that point, as I understand it.
Yeah.
I've only read
his point of view.
From his point of view,
It's extremely opinionated.
Oh, really?
So you have to take it with a grain of salt, but.
Yeah, I've only read this kind of thing for political magazines I'm attached to, never for the New Yorker, but I read the New Yorker all the time. There have been
lots and lots of volumes like that about the New Yorker, but none better than this, and none funnier either. I have to admit,
there's pictures all over it, classic New Yorker cartoons and things like that, so I'm excited to get into this.
Than mine.
Yeah, it's in great shape, and it's got the Mylar wrapping on it, too, so I actually might take this one home with me on the plane,
I found Herodotus, but it's this. I've never seen this before. The Struggle for Greece. Translated by Kenneth Cavander. Somebody chopping up Herodotus. This will leave out the mytho-history. This will leave out probably all of Egypt. This will just stick to somebody doing the good bits of Herodotus, which feels like heresy, but I want to try it. It's going to be a new...
Is that what it is? Just a selection from...
Well, it's not the whole thing. It's this big, so it's not the whole history. Somebody had to go through and think.
What's the point?
The Struggle for Greece leads me to believe that I think I can probably guess what parts of Herodotus are in here, because there are a lot of parts of Herodotus that are about this subject. And I don't know what the point is, but it was the dollar, you know. So that's the whole, well, as you know now, that's the whole thing about the Brattle, is that you can hold something up and say, what on earth is this? And then just think, just chuck it. Just chuck it on the pile. I'll figure out what it is later. Maybe it'll end up being a new best friend. If it's $1, then what difference does it make? Although a lot of these were free because one of you called in a massive credit at the Brattle. You know who you are. I will be emailing you tonight. Thank you. Very nice. Especially nice when the credit can go to 2 people instead of just me.
Yes, thank you.
You did get this thing.
I did get this one. This was
okay.
out there on Thursday when we went, and I thought about it. It's Edge of the City by Dan Mahoney. And going through it, it sounds like it's a crime novel, but with a lot of Western themes in it. So a town under siege, and the cop has to get back into his city, that sort of thing. And so if you're going to get me into reading mystery, I guess make it like a Western. So.
What was it? Detective First Grade.
I'm sorry.
That was the book by him that I read.
Okay.
Detective First. I didn't read this one.
Yeah. So that's all I have to say about that. Yeah.
I have another mass market. Daniel Mannix, Those About to Die. Classic old pulpy account of gladiators, what gladiators are like, what we know about what they were like, the research, the knowledge of what the games were like has largely just left this book behind. But I had this once upon a time. I had this exact mass market paperback. I remember the photo on the back of a ruined Coliseum there, and I loved it. It was a pure nostalgia buy. And also, I doubt very much that this book is in electronic form. I doubt very much that this exists. So it's worth having.
I think it was last year. National Geographic did a great issue on the Gladiator games for life. I remember that. I spent a lot of time with that issue. Yeah.
So it was classic National Geographic production where you got the maps and the graphs and all the artwork and everything.
Yeah. So this is Chris Bellamy, Absolute War. This is
book.
Wonderful. I read it in the e-version. Yeah.
What on earth? I didn't see that. Was that from outside?
I don't remember, to be honest with you. I know it wasn't. No, there's not a sticker on it. Just a great treatment on the Soviet Union specifically. I remember there are some. I think I said this before when I talked about this book. There's a lot of subjective adjudications in here that. They're not always backed up the way I'd like them to be, but I like that a little bit. I like that it's opinionated.
Yeah, absolutely. Provided the muscle is there.
Yeah,
if you know that the writer can do it, then they sort of earned the right to take a flyer now and again.
And this is another one of those where there's facts on virtually every page that are jaw dropping.
No, I agree.
That were new to me completely.
Like what's his name? The author of The Atlantic and Its Enemies. He does the same thing. Yeah. He's the same kind of writer where there are adjudications. That's a good 10-cent word there. There are adjudications all over, and you're thinking, I don't know. Sure. But I'm glad that you're saying it. It's interesting.
It's fun, yeah.
I have yet another mass market. I just have a couple that aren't mass markets. This is Jason. There's young Jason Harrigan on the cover there. This is Henry Treese wrote a whole bunch of cheap fantasy novels. And this is his novelization of The Quest for the Golden Fleece. It was a big thing. I think that the Harryhausen movie came out right about the same time, so publishers were just flooding the world, 1961, with versions of this, because it's the prototypical superhero team, and makes great adventures, great stories. You barely need to touch up the original myths at all. They're just so good that you barely need to touch them. They're just fantastic.
This is Stilwell and the American Experience in China, 1911 to 45. General Stilwell, what was his nickname? I think it was Vinegar Joe. I think that was his nickname. I've been trying to bone up on the war in the Pacific, and so when it comes to Stilwell, I don't know him nearly as well as I should, and my current impression of him is largely based on McManus's books. So when I read this, I have a feeling I'll be revisiting those a lot as well.
This sold like crazy when it came out.
Oh, did it really?
Far more than any other subject, any other book on the guide.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When I'm looking at even World War II shelves and I'm seeing all these books on the war in the Pacific, I just don't have as good of a feel as I do with the war in Europe, where I know that's an important book. That is, or that sort of thing.
My next one is my last mass market. The last time we did a Brattle book haul, I mentioned a forthcoming event on BookTube, largely centered around reading garbage. Turns out that's a top secret event. I shouldn't have let that slip, so you never heard it from me, and you probably won't be invited. But nevertheless, I do want to bone up on garbage. So I got Lynn Carter's Thongor, There were plenty of Thongor novels there. I may end up getting them all. But this is Thongor Against the Gods with a Frank Frazetta cover there. If you're just reading that title and thinking, oh my God, that sounds awful, you're completely correct. It's absolute garbage. Bongar books are the premium, the standard of sword and sorcery, epic fantasy garbage. So I was happy to find it. It's in perfect condition. It'll definitely take a read. What about you?
Oh, and speaking of John McManus, yes, this is The Americans at D-Day, The American Experience at the Normandy Invasion. I've only read his specific stuff, so I've been meaning to get to this. And to this one specifically, because I remember when I was reading the first volume, Fire and Fortitude, there we go, I lost it for a second. And he's talking about the U.S. loss of the Philippines. He blames that partially on their defense right up on the shoreline, rather than being further back. And then I don't know if it was in the footnote or in the text of the book, he starts criticizing the Germans at Normandy for trying to do the same thing and not learning from the Americans' decision to do that. And I'm like, those aren't at all comparable. And he sort of said it in passing. I'm like, that's an interesting and I think slightly eccentric opinion, so I need more on it. So I'm hoping in this volume, maybe he talks about that a little bit more, because I thought it was just a bizarre thing to say, and sort of random in that book because it was on the Pacific specifically. So it's something he's very opinionated about. So I hope there's more on it in there that I can follow up on.
I'm starting to notice a theme here. I'm starting to notice a different tone in books bought by one person and books bought by the other. Well, yeah, D-Day's fine, but it's no John Carter. This is the science. I think this was a science fiction book club, or maybe book of the month club. Mark Richardson would know. And
those covers.
They're somberly looking at a cross on the beach versus spearing a war hoon. I have the first 3. This is a 4-volume set of all of John Carter in these. I think these were science fiction book clubs, and they have the artwork on the front and the back. And the first 3 volumes, this has 2 novels. I think each one of them has 2 novels except the first one. And all the first 3 have gorgeous Frank Frazetta artwork. 3 of Frazetta's best paintings of John Carter. And then the 4th one, I guess the money ran out because this is not Frank Frazetta. Do we even know who this loser is? I have no idea. Does he sign his work? Oh, he's not a loser. Okay. He's not a loser. This is just a bad cover. This is Corbin. This is from 1977. He is responsible for a huge number of great fantasy novels and comic book covers, but this I don't think is his best work. But now I have them all. Now I have the wretched 4th volume. It's always a good. Oh, never a bad reason to reread Lana of Gothal.
Okay.
Oh my God! Well, this wasn't planned. I didn't notice this until we were doing this.
Okay, this is The Birth of the Messiah, Raymond Brown. I don't know why that's funny.
Well, because it's a complete split between what you got and what I got.
Oh, yeah, it's not changing.
This is a gigantic 1,000-page book on the birth of Thongor. Okay, well, it's a great book.
Yeah, it is. I've only read bits and pieces of it. And the only thing by him I've read cover to cover is his introduction to the New Testament. And so I've wanted this for a while. I don't know how this is going to hold up, to be honest with you, in paperback, but at least I'll get one reading out of it and then find a hardcover for going back to it. Is there only 2, The Birth of the Death, or is that a trilogy?
No, there's only 2.
There's only 2. That's what I thought. Yeah,
Birth of the Messiah, and then you did a 2-volume Death of the Messiah.
That's maybe I was thinking it was 3.
They're great. They have built-in structural limitations. He knew perfectly well what those were. He was writing, believing these things were true. So you have to, if you're yelling at him about that the whole time, you'll waste the reading experience. It's a calm and wise and wonderful reading experience.
Yeah, well, I think the first time you mentioned this, or maybe it was the introduction, was in your Christianity starter kit.
Oh, it could be.
I think what you said in that is it's an example of what people like Christopher Hitchens said you couldn't have,
right,
which is
right. Hitchens had never
believer writing good scholarship.
Yeah. As long as we're rising from the dead, the book of vampire stories. This is a great big thing, and I have had the trade paperback of this, the American trade paperback of this, but it didn't look as lurid as this. How can I pass this up? Especially since it was $1, so I just grabbed it. It's a big, generous vampire story collection, so I've had that trade paperback many times, and I really like it. In fact, I think the trade paperback is at the Brattle now, but I want this hardcover just for the cover. I want this hardcover. All right, well.
Yeah, then my last one is The American Republic, Continental History of the United States, 1783 to 1850 by Alan Taylor. I've wanted to get to this for a while. After I worked through the Oxford History of the U.S. covering, I think it was like the first 3 volumes, I meant to go back and then start reading this one, just go on to something else. Of course, this one was actually Steve's book that I found in the bookstore. And my first thought was Yankee Clipper, but
no,
this isn't it. But no, it's just Steve.
It's just me. But there were red herrings all over the site, all over the lot today. We found a book that had a pub sheet in it that wasn't to me. Didn't go to me. It went to somebody else. Mm-hmm. This is just a perfect example of how I should run every book that I get by everybody that I know before I get rid of them, so that they don't have to find them at the Brattle. Well, I can finish up. You're done. I can finish up with those. All these together. My last 3 are all of a theme. They're all Prince Valiant. I no sooner mentioned that I didn't have any Prince Valiant here than I started to find really good things. I found these 2 things. One is Prince Valiant Fights Attila the Hun, and the other is Prince Valiant's Perilous Voyage. And they're neat because they're Hal Foster's artwork, but someone has written them into novels. So it's not just the paneled artwork. It's that someone has... The paneled artwork is absolutely gorgeous, but it's that someone has written... Who is it? Who is the schmo that wrote this? Okay, Harold Foster, but who wrote the text?
Is this Max Trell, same guy?
Okay. Prince Valiant's Perilous Voyage was written by Max Trell. This one doesn't have an author listed, so maybe Hal Foster wrote this? I have no idea. I have never encountered these things before. I have no idea what the prose will be like. And then I found these the other day and put them on hold. I left without them, and that's always what happens at the Brattle. You leave without them. For me, I leave without something that I want. I call them. I ask them, I left without something I want. Could you put it on hold? But today I found this, which is Volume 1. Does it say it right there on the cover? Yes, Volume 1 of the actual strips. So no prose. Just this is the beginning. This introduces us to Prince Hal, and it gets him to Camelot and gets him knighted by King Arthur, and has all of the fantastic artwork that just blew everybody away when they first started seeing it, including for those of you here. Let me get to it. For those of you who know your Prince Valiant, which I don't imagine. I imagine it's only a couple. If you were watching Prince Valiant, you were reading these in the Sunday comics back when newspapers had big Sunday comics, you would get a full page. You would get a full page that would be Prince Hal's adventure for that week, and it was serialized, so you had to know what had gone before. And people were already writing in to the newspaper syndicate saying, this is really good. This is amazingly good stuff, and the artwork is fantastic. And then one adventure got to this panel right here. And that is when even casual observers say, this is something special. This is going to be anthologized for a long time. Because that is just beautiful. Look at that. That is just a work of art. In fact, it actually is a work of art. I used to know the story. Probably one of you does. That panel, the original of that panel, is owned by somebody famous, I think. They paid a huge amount of money to have that original panel. So I have novels of Prince Valiant, but I also have the book that collects the first appearances of him going on for half a year. So there you go.
Not bad.
That was our Brattle trip
again
today.
Yes.
It just goes to show. I feel very vindicated. David now can attest to what I tell you all the time, which is that you go to the Brattle every day. You could go every day and find different things, new things. And it was fun. The place is fun. Right?
It's a blast, yeah. Talking to them all, yeah. Very nice.
But now...
I have a plane to catch.
You've got a plane to catch.
Yeah, we were saying, everything is, as you say. Frida's wonderful, the Brattle's terrific, and you smell.
There's nothing I can do about it. Part of being
It all checks out.
He can attest to that as well. Frida is objectively adorable.
She is, yes.
She is just as adorable as she seems. She's not one of those dogs that looks cute, but then you get near them and they bite your fingers or whatever. She does bite fingers sometimes, but only out of friendship, out of excitement. So it's been wonderful. We'll have to have David Murphy back. But anyway, yeah. Now goes the. I always feel guilty at this point when I have a guest because then I have to chuck them out into the world, and you have to go through a nightmare.
Oh yeah, I hate airports.
Yeah, the whole getting there, being there,
and it's only a 3-hour flight. I might spend more time getting in and out than fly in the air. But
he'll keep me apprised. We'll hope that he lands in one piece.
Yeah, just after 11 to cold Minnesota. So we'll see. High 30s this week.
Oh my! Well, it's going to hit 70 here.
Rub it in. Great.
You'll have to come back.
I know. It got up to 64 today when we were going out to take the bean out. I'm like, it is hot out. He's like, yeah, right. Oh, well.
All right, BookTube. At least that was more than 9 minutes. Both of us, later on that night, over wine, both of us were like, what happened there?
Yeah.
So we got through a joint video in 9 minutes. We can't even say what kind of weather it is in 9 minutes in our own videos. But we made a little.
Yeah, we made an effort. Yeah. But when you get back from a full day and then you eat and then the wine starts flowing and you're talking, that's just what you do. Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, you people get shoehorned out in favor of John Wayne.
It's just the way it is. Yeah.
Well, we'll wrap this up for now. And we'll see you all later. I have videos to make. I have lots of stuff to
Next year, I'll make a video.
Yeah, next year, David will make a video on his own channel. Maybe you should, in the comments, feel free to berate him that he doesn't make enough videos.
All right.
But anyway.
All right, that's enough.
We're going to wrap this up.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.